Adults, especially those who are not diagnosed until later on in life, have to go through life not knowing their true identities in a way where eternal souls search for all these answers and clues that are trying to lead to what you want to know about your autism. And later on, when people finally do get their diagnosis of being on the autism spectrum, they feel a sense of relief in the way of going through this pattern and stage of depression that they feel that there's still more to the piece than what meets the eye. So if this makes sense, I feel like being on the autism spectrum is a continuous amount of things. Like, that's why it's called the autism spectrum. There's many aspects to the autism spectrum, so it's very complicated to determine whether there's a specific autism trait. Because when you see all these TV shows and movies and how they portray people that are on the autism spectrum, I hear people complain about them and say they don't like it. But really, I think all that matters is if we get presentation out there in the media, because it might not be the presentation or out in the spectrum that might fit your mold of what's like being on the spectrum, but there's different types of people that are on the spectrum, and maybe they're only just presenting the one type of spectrum instead of doing all of them. So maybe they're portraying each autistic characteristic in each film and show as they go on and try to explore the world of people that are on the autism spectrum. And what I'm trying to get here is that going through and living with autism is like going through an invisible battle that we have to fight internally in our minds, that we try to tell ourselves that being ourselves is fine, and being able to act accordingly and act inwardly to society's social rules are kind of significantly outdated, because I feel like sometimes we have to go by these social rules all the time, and it just gets really caught up into what we're trying to accomplish in terms of how we want to relieve ourselves of these social rules and be more, what I would say, how I would act, socially awkward. Because in terms of that, I do act socially awkward 24/7, so in a way, yeah, I can relate to that a lot, if some of you can relate to that. I keep repeating myself in certain words and sentences, so sorry. It's a bad habit of mine. And what I'm trying to say here is that don't let the autism spectrum define who you are as a person. And if you're still looking for answers or some sort of comfort, I would invite you to reflect on who you are as a person. Just know that your personality is based on you, not your autism characteristics, and that despite what any society would tell you how to act accordingly towards what makes you comfortable and most happy. That's all I gotta say for tonight. Good night.